and it was a difficult conversation to have, but once I did, get it through, they actually started paying me more, and that moment has really taught me a very valuable lesson that's helped me forward in the rest of my life.
All right, welcome to episode 6 of On the Rise podcast. Today we're joined here by a close friend, Constantijn Goos. This man go-karts a lot. I'm not gonna leave it on that, but he go-karts a lot. He really loves the sport. He's been doing it for a while, for a really long time, and he's got some big aspirations in that field. Let's get started.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. What were you going to ask me, Tunjay? What were you going to
I
ask?
was gonna ask you how long you've been karting, bro.
Well, I've been karting as in just like normal rental karts. I've been doing that for like 5 years. But my own kart, I bought my own kart in 2021, I think it was. And I've been driving my own kart for 2-3 years now. I started driving competitively in a more it wasn't really like a race. It was more like it was a race, but it's not like a massive competition. It's more like a hobby drivers competition, and I've been doing that for a year now. I've had my first season behind me, and overall it went pretty well. But yeah, this year I decided to bring it up a notch, and I've bought a new kart and 2 new engines, and now I'm really competitively racing, and my goal is to go into the Dutch championships next year. So
Yeah,
that's what we want to do, obviously. Yeah.
I find it, or I'm curious, how is that like transition from like go-karting and like this, obviously like smaller karts to actually going into the F1 and like those big leagues? Like, how does that work? Is it like very similar in terms of the driving style, or
Yeah.
is it an entire different set of rules?
Well, I mean, if you take it from the very beginning, if you or me, you don't have your own kart, if you wanted to, really go to Formula One, you'd obviously start by going to CMK or wherever, some indoor kart track, and then try it there. Then you'd probably try and bump it up to your own kart, which is a very big difference because rental karts usually have around like 5-6 horsepower maybe, and then you get your own kart, which is got like 30 horsepower. So that's already a thing, You gotta be careful with that, and that takes a lot of getting used to. Then racing competitively in that's gonna take you years, like building up until the moment where you can start driving at the world championships. Then it can take you so long, and a lot of people that I see at the car track when I'm working because I work as a mechanic as well for the big Dutch championships to get some experience there. And the people I see there who take part in the world championships and are really driving at the top, man, they've been driving for like years, since they were 6 years old. Some of them even 4. And they're training
Holy
every
shit.
single weekend. They're spending two days a week, every weekend on the track. And that transition from go-karts, I think you would start in a single speed category such as I am driving in now. Then you go to shifter karts. And then after shifter karts, you could either progress into Formula 4 or instantly into Formula 3. Formula 4 and Formula 3 is a small difference. The cars they're about the same, but Formula 4 is more regional, and Formula 3 is a real international championship that you can even watch on TV. So it's pretty serious stuff. Yeah.
And how much can like a kart set you back, bro?
Well, it really depends. I mean, if you want to buy everything new, say you wanted to take part in the Dutch championships, I think is that a fair thing to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say you wanted to, then for one season, what you need is a brand new kart. That's gonna set you back €5,000. Then you need a brand new engine. That's €4,500. You need some loose parts as well. That's about €1,000 as well, because you need like you've got a speedometer, some rims. I've got special different type of rims. It's a whole long story. And then as well, what you need is like tires and stuff. So just to start the engine on the first day, you're already what, maybe 9-10,000 euros down.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, can you like make money off of that after?
No, it's a complete zero investment. If you want to make money, don't.
Zero return.
It is not, no return on investment, negative return on investment. In fact, it's money down the drain, if you will. Yeah. So yeah.
And this is for the Dutch league, you said.
Yeah, so, and it's important as
Okay.
well. I mean, if you look at what some of the guys, I work for a professional racing team. If you look at what some of the guys have there, and me personally, I've bought my kart and my engines from a professional or professional level driver. I'm saying professional, but you still have to pay to take part. There's no money winning, in fact. All of it technically is hobby. Everything in karting is hobby. You don't get paid to drive karts. You get paid maybe to drive cars at the very top. But up until Formula 3 and 2, you're not getting anything back. There was this interesting YouTube video I watched the other day, which is from like, how much does it cost to get a driver from being a noob to being in Formula 1? And I know for Nikita Mazepin at least, it was pretty terrible in my opinion. But hey, all opinions aside here, for Nikita Mazepin, it cost him like nearly 100 million to get to Formula 1.
Oh my
eventually.
god.
Yeah. And being in the Dutch karting scene, I get to hear a lot of fun and juicy gossip about Max Verstappen. And I swear I'm not making any of this stuff up that I'm about to say, but Max Verstappen, he was born into a family of already racers. His son, Jos Verstappen, or his father, Jos Verstappen, he was also a Formula 1 driver. And Jos Verstappen, he kind of entered the sport at a time when you didn't need like 100 million euros to get in there. It was a lot smaller scale because it wasn't as international as it is now. But Jos Verstappen, he actually kept on going so long that he started getting money from his contracts, which is obviously, that's great. However, even with the money that he earned in Formula 1, he wasn't fully able to manage his Formula 1, his son's career. And even in karting days, the family he used to be in, he used to have to work a lot for it. A lot of stuff he did on his own, because normally one of the major costs I can tell you from my experience is engine maintenance. So if you get a kart, it has an engine obviously, and it's a 2-stroke engine, so it wears out very quickly. And you have to maintain this engine, and this costs like a crap ton of money to get done because it takes hours. And what Jos Verstappen used to do is he used to do this himself, and this saved him a lot of money. But towards the end, he had to start looking for they were looking for sponsors and everything, and it was really, for them, it was a huge relief once they finally got to Formula 1, and now they know they've reached it, So yeah, that's that growth. It's very hard to grow in motorsports. As long as you're the driver, obviously. If you're a mechanic, such as I am, or if you're just looking to work in motorsports, hey, it's a beautiful world to be able to progress in, because eventually, the best one wins. So you have to make sure you're the best of the best as a mechanic, as a driver, as a janitor of a team. I'm just saying stuff here, but you know what I mean. It's a lot of it's a very competitive industry to be in. So yeah.
So if it's so difficult to progress and you have such a long duration in which you don't make any money, for you, what keeps you going?
Well, obviously, I work a lot. I already talked about the fact that I work I work 3 days in a week usually. So if I'm not karting, I'm either on the kart track to work, and that's where I work 12-hour days, and obviously for my age that makes good money. Outside of that, I work at a restaurant which is right next to my house. So then you can earn a lot of money. You can obviously go and just go to people's gardens and maintain that for some money, and I try in that way to keep it affordable so that I can keep on progressing throughout my career. Another thing as well, it's very important, is you need to have connections. You need to know the people who are at the top. I have the fortune of knowing the the owner of both kart tracks in the Netherlands, because both kart tracks actually fall under the same company. It's called Combikart. Um, I know the owner of him, and that's why I've got my ways to go there, obviously, and I work at one of the tracks, which entitles me to a lot of benefits, which financially help me as well. Let's just keep it like
Mm-hmm.
that for legal reasons. Shall I just say that? Then, obviously, one of the biggest costs in motorsports, anyone who's ever had their own cart, had their own car, call it, they will tell you, man, tires, they cost money. You know, they cost a lot of money. Uh, one set of tires will set you back 230 euros nowadays. And actually, I wouldn't know because I never pay for tires. I always find them at the side of the road or in a dumpster, and I just take out the
That's
right
smart.
ones, and then I put those on my cart, and I just hire the tire pressure bit, and those things they go just as quick. So that's how I like to save a bit of money as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do that in F1.
they do not do that in F1. I don't think that's allowed. Yeah,
Man, I was gonna ask for so you know you have like the mowing the grass and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I remember hearing about these jobs, and, you know, like these kind of like small side hustles you can do when you're a kid.
yeah.
But I always wondered, how do you market that? Like, how are you marketing that right now?
Well, a big thing is you have to know your audience. You have to go around the neighborhood. You have to maybe uh, obviously some neighborhoods they have like a neighborhood barbecue. You know what I mean, right? It's like an introduction to when you live there. They're like, oh, welcome to the neighborhood or whatever. You have to go around
Yeah,
seeing like, okay, what kind of people are they? What kind of money do they have? That's also a very important thing. How old are they? What kind of gardens do they have? There's so many questions that you need to ask yourself and answer as well. Um, Obviously, if I'm gonna look at my situation here, I live in a neighborhood it's a very foresty area, so there's a lot of trees or a lot of leaves around the October and December months. The people who live here are really old. They're like grandpa age. It's a neighborhood full of pretty well off people, so they're willing to pay someone to get this stuff done for them. Um, and also, you need to look at your competition. And what I looked at was basically when I came to live here, I just filled in my address to a bunch of people who are gardeners, professional gardeners, and I just asked them like, how much is this gonna set me back? Another thing as well is my uncle is a gardener, and I just asked him about his tariffs, and then I saw, okay, well, what's how far below can I go? And what is their main cost? What for them? What is causing them to ask 55 euros per hour, man? That's ridiculous. That's so much money, in my opinion. That's crazy. 55 euros per hour. That's a lot of money. And I was thinking, why does it cost that much? So I went around and I looked. I mean, these guys they have to travel from wherever they are, all the way to your house. You got diesel costs. You got the van that you're driving in. Then their materials. You've got their lawn mowers, their all of their hedge trimmers and everything. And then I thought, well, most of these people here they have that themselves, so I'll just offer to use their materials, and if not, then I'll just use my parents, but I'm gonna charge them more for that. Seems logical. Um, then yeah, I formulated the money. I started because at that time I was already working at the car track, so I started at that loan. So I started seeing like how much am I earning there, and I started there, and then I just kept on going until like people said, okay, oh, that's too much. Yeah. And I came out at about like 10 euros an hour is what I ask. It's my rate.
hmm I heard for whenever you're pricing, what seems to work well is that if you just keep going up until you just about to start feel uncomfortable with the
Yeah,
price, that's the perfect amount. Any
yeah,
lower than that, you're charging less than you should be. Any higher than that, you're charging higher than you should be.
Yeah, and another thing as well is how attractive are you to your audience at that point? You see, I'm gonna let you into a little secret here. We as teenagers may not realize
Alright.
this, but adults gossip like a lot, you know? So if you're gonna go there and you're gonna, obviously me, I'm not a professional gardener. I'm just a teenage boy who likes karting and wants to make money. I go there and I, try and do my best, but obviously I fuck up a little bit. If I go there and I ask them like 50 euros per hour, hey, they're gonna go around telling everyone like, this guy is an idiot. Don't hire him. If I go there and I ask like 10 euros an hour and I do my very best, suddenly when the leaves fall, I've got like 5 customers, and this is serious. I got like 3-4 customers who are in my DMs right now asking me like when is the next available day for you. And another thing as well is it's not just clearing out leaves, it's, mowing lawns, pressure washing, all of that stuff. And it's you just ask 10 euros for it, or maybe more if that's what you're comfortable with asking. I'm thinking personally this year, after this season, I'm going to start asking more due to inflation and the fact that I have less time now due to school. So, my time has become more valuable. It's a very important factor when you're determining what your rate is how valuable is your time, and how much are you going to get done in that time. And I think I get a lot done in an hour, and I don't have many hours a week to spend on this. So that's my reasoning behind it, if you will.
And are you thinking about like scaling it so you could have like, you could charge maybe like 15 euros and then pay someone 5 to do it, or pay like 3 guys 5 to do it, and then whatever you're getting I passive, you could scale that.
That could work, But at the same time, in the Netherlands, you've got very strict tax laws around that stuff, and it's a very slippery slope from there. It really is.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous to do that. And I'm working with a bunch of lawyers as well here, so if one of them breaks something, man, I'm done for. It's very high risk
for
very,
the garden company?
very low reward. Let me just say that.
For the garden company, you're working with lawyers?
Sorry?
I mean
the people who live in my neighborhood are lawyers, or they're very they're very. It's not. That
you're
big
working
of a deal,
for
man.
lawyers. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're lawyers, and a lot of these people.
I thought you had.
Yeah, sorry, but another thing I have as well is this guy who his kids go to my school, and I worked for him, and he moves or he has to work abroad a lot. He still works in America, so like when he gets home, he's jet lagged, he's tired, he's done for. He doesn't want to spend that time gardening. He wants to spend that time having fun with his kids, So that's specifically someone you have to. They really appreciate you doing the work that you do. It doesn't even have to be that much, and they're willing to pay for that. So yeah, you can
even higher maybe.
I could hire my raid like by 20 euros, and that guy would still be like, yeah,
right.
Come next week.
Yeah, you can leverage like his needs at the moment to charge higher price.
Yeah, but I could.
Smart.
But I don't feel that's fair, That's the kind of thing you do when you're 18.
Of course.
That's not the kind of thing you do when you're 16. But hey, theoretically speaking here, that would be the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, on a logical level, yeah. I mean, or from like a capitalist point of view, where you want to make.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's borderline opportunism if you go there. I mean, yeah, this is just a man who is very busy, and he's looking for some sort of way to higher his quality of life, and you're gonna hold that back. Like, come on, hey, what are you gonna make him work extra hours at his job?
Right, you could argue that it's like an exchange of value. Like the fact that he needs it even more, technically means it's higher. Like it's supply and demand, right? The demand is higher, so
I guess
argue that the value of the product is higher, so I can charge more for it, and it would make sense. Just maybe not on like an ethical level.
Yeah, no, but ethics is really what you can't. With things like these, it's not a full-blown corporation. Heck, I'm not even like.
Right.
I don't have a chamber of conference number. I'm not sending out like invoices. No, man. It's just I'm getting paid in cash.
Yeah.
you can overcomplicate the values of your business to such an extent where it becomes hard for you to understand what the heck you're doing. Or you can just show up and do what's being asked of you. And
Hell, I've been there.
people are often very willing to pay for that, and they're often very willing to help you if you need something in return. You know?
Mm. Alright. Okay, guys, time coming. No, it's good. No, we're not finishing. I was good.
Okay.
How far are you trying to take your like karting career, or even if you're not a driver, like as a mechanic? How
Ah,
high are you trying to go?
well, here's the part that I've been waiting for. No, it's so basically how I started as a kart mechanic. Well, short answer and how far I want to take it. My dream is to go to the World Championships one day, to the World Finals. It's this 1 week event that Rotax, the maker of the engines that I compete in, that I drive in and work for, that they organize, and it's a festival pretty much. To be able to mechanic for someone who goes there, that's a dream for me. That's my goal. That's my end goal, is to do that. At the
You're
moment,
more focused.
sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna ask, so you're more focused on the mechanic side of things. I do remember that you said it's like easier to progress there.
It is. It is. So how I progressed, right? It's a very funny story actually. I do like telling it a lot. It is. I bought my kart from a race team, and it's the same company that owns both of the tracks. Whose owner is my neighbor. It made sense for me to buy my kart there. Uh, Obviously, I roll into the shop there after like 3 months of owning it, and I'm like, hey man, I don't know how to fix this thing. Could you guys show me? He's like, yeah, it's race weekend this weekend, so why don't you just come in on a Saturday, and we'll get our mechanic to show you how to like take off the engine and clean it, and how to like, if it's not starting, what to do. I said that. That's not true. There's this YouTube channel called Power Republic on YouTube. They've got a whole tutorial list on how to do this stuff, right? Also, I've taken the cart apart a couple times already. So I'm telling these guys, hey man, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I show up there. I have a moderate idea what I'm doing, obviously. Small mistake here and there. Not bad for someone who learned the YouTube tutorial. So it's okay. So these guys are, shit, man, you're pretty good. You want to come to the next race as well, just to generally, help us, because they have a massive tent, and they just wanted me to help like unload the tent. That's it. Or maybe walk around a bit, and if someone needs some small help, then they can ask me as well. But they were giving me like a t-shirt and a hat so that it looked like, and I was part of the team. So then I go to the next race. It's at Spa, so it's right next to the Formula One track. It's inside of the Formula One track even. It's really cool. So I'm just standing there, and at the same time there were cars flying by, it was fantastic. But then my some driver's mechanic got sick, so they quickly needed a replacement. Guess who's there, And then I got to be his mechanic for the weekend, and for the first time in my life, I got a Parc Fermé pass. And anyone who's ever been in motorsports will tell you, like, a Parc Fermé, that's proper cool. It's this part of the track where right before you have an official session, so whether that's qualifying or a race, you have to enter Parc Fermé. So they scan everything on your cart to check if you're not doing anything illegal, and then you put your cart down, and then you drive off. It's a bit like the pit lane in Formula One, or what you see at the beginning of a Formula One race, where they're all like lined up on the grid. You're only allowed to be there because you have this pass. So it was really cool being able to experience this, being able to see how this is in. I've seen this in Formula One, obviously. I've been watching Formula One since I was a kid, but to see how this was in karting, it was a very special experience. Then obviously I offered to, become this guy's mechanic for the rest of the season. I wanted money in return because, me. But I didn't ask like a crap ton of money. I just said, hey, if you allow me to come on Saturday and on Sunday, because Friday I have school, but if you pick me up for the international races, I'll do it for this much. And he said, yeah, okay, that's good. And that's been 2 years ago now. And every weekend that there is a race, I've been his mechanic. And yeah, it's very valuable, the skills you learn there. It's not only because it's you don't only learn like karting, you also learn like how to be a mechanic. Punctuality is a very important thing. You know, being on time, being organized, neatness. Yeah, all of this stuff, man. It's every weekend. I'm very tired because it's like a lot of work, but I have so much stuff that I've learned. So yeah, that'd be my general advice to anyone who wants to progress in motorsports, is just throw yourself out there until someone says, yeah, oh, okay, you know, you can come work for me for a weekend. Because really, just being there and kind of knowing your stuff and just being willing to work, it's all that anyone expects of you. I mean, you're working with pretty complex machinery, and the fact that you already know how to start that thing, I mean, 50% of the people don't. You know, if I put Tunjay over here in my cart and I tell him, okay, start and drive until the end of the pit lane, I mean, we would be here all night, because he wouldn't be able to, because there's 50,000, or there's like a couple buttons, and then you got to be careful with how long you start it, and yeah, it's very difficult. You know, it's very complex stuff. Yeah, if you're good at it, then yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. Making sure, like, the part about getting yourself out there, I think is super important.
Yeah.
I think I even heard this from another podcast. Ty Lopez, he's like this. You probably heard of him I think back in 2014, he had
Yeah.
this, knowledge meme. I don't know if you heard of that. I'm here in my garage. Have you seen that?
I don't think I have. No, I'm what?
But basically, yeah, it's a bit weird. It's gonna sound hilarious out of context, but it's basically this entrepreneur, and he was on this podcast, and he was telling a story about how he was at like the lowest point of his life, and he had just read this book called "Awaken the Giant" by, I think, Tony Robbins. I don't know if you heard of him. He's like a motivational speaker. But anyways, he read this book, and I think one of the lessons in the book was to get yourself out there. And on that same day, he called his uncle, who he said was like one of the only people he personally knew that made a lot of money. And his uncle did insurance.
Yeah.
And he said, you can either make a lot of money from his uncle did car sales. I mean, this doesn't really matter, but his uncle did car sales, and he told him, make sure you don't do car sales because it's a very stressful job, like selling cars and stuff. So he said, either do that or do insurance. That's where you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what Ty did that day is he went into the newspaper and he looked for the one of the insurance guys that had paid for the full page ad on the magazine.
Yeah.
And he just called him up and he said, hey, I'm willing to work for you. I'm willing to do anything, like work for you for free, in exchange for you to teach me what you know. And the guy said, I've been waiting for this day my whole life, for someone to come and, someone I can mentor. And I think that's super important. Like, I think there's opportunities everywhere, but you really just need to like find them, and you really need to like actively search for them.
And you have to swallow your pride a lot, you know? Like, sometimes you got to do the dirty work, the stuff you really don't want to do. At the end of the day, it's better than school. Yeah, that's how I see it. But there's a lot of like stuff you rather not do, but in order to progress further in life, sometimes you have to do those things, you know? That's how it is. But yeah, that's a compelling story. I mean, yeah, and the insurance part, I mean, that's totally true.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I can relate doing the dirty work with, I don't know if you heard, but like cold calling. It's where that's what Ty did there in the story. But cold calling is when you're like, basically, it's like widely regarded as really annoying to do, but it's one of the only things that actually like move the needle when it comes to, scaling a business.
Yeah.
So you got to do that stuff, man.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have to really make some compromises. It's not all perfect. Yeah. Hey, it's fun
100%.
here talking about how I mow lawns and how I do this and that. It's actually not fun doing it. You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
3.5 hours
But hey,
after
you
each
get
other of standing in the sun or in the rain. You still gotta
mm.
work.
And what are some lessons you've been able to take away uh from that business? Because I'm sure it like
Yeah.
or sorry, how have you been able to translate like this discipline and determination from doing all these jobs into other parts of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that working, regardless of where and how, it's given me discipline, a lot of discipline. Punctuality is one of them, man. I used to never be on time for anything. I don't know if you guys remember me from my younger years, man. I used to be so unorganized. Well, that has
Mm.
changed, you know. I don't like being on not on time. I want to be organized. Um, Motivation as well as a thing. It's just yeah, or lack thereof. I can still do things without being motivated, even though I'm not motivated. I still push myself to do it because it has to be done. You know, in order to make money, you have
Mm.
to do work. There's no other way. Even
Yeah,
like there is nearly no such thing as passive income. You know,
I agree.
there you still have to do something. So that's something I learned. Another thing I obviously learned is the fact that I learned how businesses work, like how schemes work, how all of that. I learned the valuable lesson of that. There's always going to be one guy profiting off of your ass, right? You know, there's always a bigger fish. There's always someone above you, you know, and you got to know your value
Mm-hmm.
when you go into a job. You got to know how important you are of a role. Like, and when I was working at the car track, I know that they don't have a lot of people working at that track there. That's it's always been a problem for them, and I often they put me in a lot of days, but this is down to like many things. The fact that they're very long days, like you could easily make it 2 6-hour shifts, but they choose not to for some reason, which is just ridiculous. Well, yeah, obviously, I mean, I know why, but from the perspective of an employee, it's ridiculous. I mean, the real reason why,
Mm-hmm.
little business lesson from Constantijn Goos here. The real reason why is because they don't pay that much, and if people are only gonna do 6-hour shifts, if they get paid a lot, you know, if you make like a crap, I don't know, €7 an hour, you're not gonna do a 6-hour shift if you've got bills to pay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you make like 17 euros an hour, oh yeah, man, 6-hour shift, let's go. You know, I'll only do half of the work. That's pretty
Right.
much that's how it is. You know, that's the reason why. But yeah, that's dumb, and you've just got what I did, right? Because I started working there when I was 14, and when I turned 16, I was still getting the same wage, and I wanted to ask them for more wage. I knew that one of my employees or one of my colleagues was about to quit, so I just waited until he quitted. I waited until he said, yeah, you know, he resigned, so he said himself, okay, I want to stop working by, I think it was October. So I just waited until mid-October when they were starting to realize, like, oh shoot, what are we gonna do now, you know? And then I said, hey, I was looking in an ad for the McDonald's the other day, and they were getting pretty close to the wage I'm earning here, and I don't have to work 12-hour days there and do all this other stuff, you know? And they just said, yeah, but like, and it was a difficult conversation to have, but once I did, you know, get it through, they actually started paying me more, and that moment has really taught me a very valuable lesson that's helped me forward in the rest of my life. And it's a Dutch saying, it's you have no but you can get yes, you know. Just try. Just try. What's the worst that can happen? What was the worst thing they could have done there? They could have fired me for asking for more money? No. If they would have, had a problem. So they were really stuck to the wall, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't directly say like, hey man, if you don't give me more money, I'll quit. No, because then they're like, okay, well then quit. I don't care. I dare you, you know. Here, take your stuff. Yeah, that's what they'll do. Trust me, I've seen my colleagues do it. I've seen people do it. That is how it always works. if you want something from someone, you've got to really like, you've got to formulate it. You've got to ask it in such a way that they think about it a bit more. And that's why, you've got to take their perspective into account as well.
Yeah, well, for sure you chose like the advantageous like spot to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well, there was even
that's
as
pretty
well.
smart.
The manager of the place, like she works upstairs. She never comes downstairs into the workplace where it smells like gasoline. There's carts flying around, you know. So I caught her out of her comfort zone a bit. If someone's in their comfort zone, if they're in their office, if you will, in their office, if you're gonna ask your boss in their office in their territory, like, hey man, give me more money, no, then it's not gonna work. But if you get them in a more of a place where they're less well known, or less as an established authority figure, if you will, then maybe who knows, they'll swallow their pride and give you what you want. That's what I mean.
Yeah, man. I was thinking about like the money in like karting and like in motorsport in general. And to be honest, it looks like the only people that are winning are like the teams. And some of these teams are like, out of like what does Haas do? And like obviously we know
Oh,
what Mercedes and what Ferrari does and what Red Bull. Red Bull is such an interesting company actually if you think about it.
yeah,
This is a bit of a side tangent, but Red Bull sells their, or no, the cost to make a Red Bull can is like 7 cents or something,
yeah.
and they're selling it for like $3.50 or something. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
The rest of it is like going to F1 or something.
Yeah, but it's an interesting question actually, and last year I wanted to get into Formula One, because that's ultimately my goal, is to become an engineer for one of those Formula One teams. So I did extensive research for months on these teams, and what I found is that, let me let you into a little secret here. Mercedes Petronas AMG F1 racing team is not actually Mercedes. Like, they're two very different companies. What Mercedes AMG Petronas Racing F1 team is, it's just a bunch of people who work for a company, and Mercedes buys their marketing spot on their car. But it used to be Braun GP, and Braun GP, it used to be mechanics from Ferrari, and I think a couple from McLaren as well, who came together and built like the most insane overpowered car ever in their 2009 season. They changed the regulations on aerodynamics, and they found something. It was called, I think it was a blown diffuser or a double split diffuser or something. They changed something to the floor, and that car was crazy fast. And Mercedes, they saw their chance, like, hey, can we get a piece of that? And that's how it works. Red Bull isn't actually Red Bull. Red Bull used to be Jaguar F1 racing team, and then Jaguar F1 racing team went bankrupt because they were crap. They were not very good. And it was sold to the owner of Red Bull for like £1 as a joke. It's a millionaire's joke. They were sitting together after playing golf in some like fancy restaurant. Oh, hey man, what if I gave you this team for $1? Nah, I bet you won't. Yeah, okay, well, here you go, as a joke. And Red Bull now is so big. They earn more money than it takes to like sponsor them for Red Bull. So it's unique. It's a very unique team, Red Bull in and of itself. It used to be like two separate things, Red Bull Racing and Red Bull, the drink and manufacturer, but now it's starting to merge a lot more, because you've got the fact that they earn so much money through advertising and just taking part in the competition that they generate revenue. A Formula One team generates revenue. That's crazy, And in most motorsport teams, the only place where money is coming from is the sponsors, and then it's like it's a drain, it's a pit. It doesn't go anywhere else. It's no one knows why. It just doesn't, because it's so unprofitable to have a bunch of gasoline powered machines fly around the track for like 50 laps. It costs so much money. And then to fly it around the world and like set up tracks every weekend, it costs so ridiculously much money that it's a black pit of money. That's the reason why I've chosen to not pursue a career in that industry, because, well, where is the money going? it's not going in my pocket, obviously. You know, it's not going to these teams, except for Red
So,
Bull.
so is there anyone like getting any money out of this? Like,
Yeah,
who's the
uh,
winner? Is it the drivers? Is it the like
the
the arenas?
yeah. I mean, obviously, everyone is getting paid, but where the actual like it's still yeah. How do I explain what I'm trying to tell you here? I don't think it's being clear. I mean, if you buy like a ticket, most of the money goes to the organization, right? Pretty much all of it, but some of it goes to the track where it's being hosted at. Some of it goes to the teams for taking part in it. Some of it goes to the drivers for taking part in Formula One, and then the rest goes to the organization. But the organization has to pay for like Formula One to be flown around and shipped and everything. You know what I mean? So it's yeah. I don't know. It's a weird concept, but a lot of this money it just evaporates pretty much, or it gets put into the pockets of those who build the cars. Yeah, but that's often the case. I mean, in go karting at least, I'll let you in on a little secret. It's the importers of the chassis, the tires, and the engines. They earn all of the money. Coincidentally, I'm working for the importer of the chassis, the engines, and the tires. Because if you buy, because there you've got a bunch of different types of carts you can buy in the Netherlands. You've got Tony cart, Sodi cart. You've got Kart Republic. Yeah, if you buy a Senior Max engine or a Rotax engine of any kind, if you buy a Mojo tire, which is the most common used tire in the Netherlands, or if you buy a Tony Kart chassis or any kart chassis from the Tony Kart group, which is like there's a lot of those, then the money or that chassis or that product has been inside of their warehouse because they are the head importer of these products, and that's the reason why that business is so powerful. You know, you should never underestimate how much money you can make if you're all the way at the top of the trade chain or the food chain in a business. Yeah.
Emily, you got anything to add?
I mean, that must have been a good ROI for that guy who bought the Red Bull.
Yeah, yeah. It's
$1
marketing
into like
genius, you know.
7 trillion.
But I mean, the same thing can be said about the team that Michael Schumacher won his first championship in. United Colors of Benetton. What the hell? It's a t-shirt manufacturer. Yeah, but it's not the t-shirt manufacturers that's making the cars. It's a tiny warehouse with a bunch of like middle-aged British men in Silverstone who are building that car. United Colors of Benetton just pays to be the title sponsor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, can Cressa Media like have their own F1 company? Like, can we do that?
You could. You really could. Seriously. I'm trying to think of a good example. There's only two
I mean,
yeah, there's only two teams. Well, three teams in the Formula One grid right now that are actually like their name. You've got McLaren, that's actually built by McLaren. Ferrari is actually built by Ferrari, and Williams, which although it's being done poorly, is also built by Williams. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But like Alfa Romeo, that's not Alfa Romeo. That's Sauber. It's just been bought by It's been bought by Alfa Romeo, but the actual team itself is Sauber. It's still got the same employees as Sauber. So,
Yeah, I mean it's interesting that they do that because, I mean I can imagine like how many eyes are looking at Formula One. I mean last season I heard a lot about it, so I'm guessing it kind of took off this
it's
year.
gotten
So
massive,
it's
man.
interesting they don't set their name. It feels like free marketing. You know what I mean? Like if we had a Cressa Media car going around the track, I feel like we'd get quite a lot of kickback for that because there's like 100 million people watching.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, since 2021 with the title fight between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, that it's massive. There was a boom in 2022 in cryptocurrency, FTX, Bybit, and I want to say another one. I think it's called Vistas. These companies, they are literally trying everything to get people to use their service. But it didn't work, so they chose Formula One. And even though they're the most expensive form of advertising in the world, Formula One, you know, they still could manage to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's the reason why. I mean, it depends on how big you want. If you want your own team, you're gonna have to buy a team that's already on the grid or start one yourself. I would recommend buying one because I mean, it costs so much money to develop a car and to develop, and then again, you can develop
And
you can buy the engine and the gearbox and some of the suspension components. That's what Haas does. Haas, it's half of like, yeah, Haas. It's mostly for Ferrari, and Aston Martin does this as well. Aston Martin, by the way, it's not called Aston Martin. It used to be called Racing Point India, but now they've gone through yeah, seriously, and they've gone through numerous names, and now Aston Martin
yeah.
owns it, and that's why it's called that now.
So these companies buy these racing teams and they do that as a means of like marketing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And is it like shared equity? You know,
Sorry?
how does it? Well, I don't know if you. Is it like shared equity? Is it like as in like
Yeah,
you know,
a bit.
Mercedes owns 50% and
Yeah,
whatever,
it is actually like
the
that.
other team
It
was,
is actually
yeah.
like that, and you can tell what team. That's a good observation. It's exactly like that even. In the team Jaguar, or we're gonna call it Jaguar. It has another name, but now it's Red Bull. The main sponsor is Red Bull. A couple years ago, it used to be called Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. That's because Aston Martin had a larger share in that company of Jaguar, and which is now Red Bull. You know, it's the whole complicated thing, and that's why they had their name on it as well. And Ford has invested a lot of money into Red Bull, and now they are allowed to put their Ford powertrains under their name as well. Even though Ford, they don't build any engines, man. It's all done by Red Bull. So, or done by Jaguar, or however you want to say it. You know what I mean?
So
it's
it's a
like
win-win for everybody.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just you have to pay if you want to be a company. It's pretty much they're all just driving around in advertisements, pretty much. And that's what makes Formula One, and that's another interesting point. You don't have that in karting. You have sponsors, sure, but it's at
Right.
a much smaller level than that. What you have in karting is that the person pays for their kart. It's just store bought. It doesn't have to be developed or anything, and we all buy them from the same place. We all buy our engines from the same place, and we just pay to take part. You just pay. You don't earn anything.
Uh, uh, like personally, who do you know is like making the most money from karting, the
Yeah,
karting world?
the
And
the guy who owns the importer the import team that I work for, obviously, he's making the most money of everyone.
Mhm.
That's really if you're the one who's in the professional karting scene, if you're the one who's importing the winning chassis, then you're gonna have the most money. And if you're importing the engines and tires, man, that's even more. But it's
Is it
mostly
like a
sorry.
stock market? Is it like kind of like
No,
the
these
components
are
of
all
the go-kart?
private. These are all private companies. Pretty
As
much.
no, I meant like sorry, I was like trying to use
Yeah,
a
yeah.
metaphor there. Is like the components of the go-kart.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like a stock market, as in like some of the like whatever piece or component that you know was used in a winning go-kart, the price of it goes up, or you know like, you know what I mean, if it's part of a
Yeah.
winning go-kart, does the price of that component go up?
Yeah, that's a very good one. Yes and no. For example, we run the winning kart at the moment is the Tony kart. It's the kart I drive as well. But if anyone wins in a Rotax Senior Max category, it's the category that I race in. It's in a Tony kart. Okay. They don't really drive the price up because of this, but they do get sold a lot more. So the supply and demand does change. Last year, the winning kart driver, he was always driving a Sodi kart, and that's the reason why that was like that is because of he had a contract, so he'd be paid to drive the Sodi kart, and that caused people to go and buy Sodi karts. But now this year his contract has been terminated and he's just driving for himself, and that's what's causing Sodi karts to like plummet because no one's really buying them anymore for this year.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. It's like the guy you mentioned it's like the F1 and just motorsport in general is the most like expensive marketing. I see that because imagine like so Ferrari, Petronas, whatever, Red Bull, they're putting all their money in, and the only way that they'll probably get a good uh, return on that investment is if they win, right? So if you see a
Yeah,
Ferrari car win, then they're likely to. That's gotta be like a two times increase from if they're in like third.
yeah. It's the constructor's title is the biggest prize in Formula One. It's not even about the driver's title. Well, I mean that as well, but constructors is that's a big deal, you know.
Then
That's
why do you think these companies even like bother investing in F1?
uh that's a very good question. I mean, to make their brand well known, you know, would you, as a motorsport fan, would you buy a Red Bull if it weren't being driven around? You know,
Yeah, I mean, I think Red
begs the
Bull has
question.
that crazy, has the craziest like marketing out of like every other company. I
Yeah, but
mean,
if you want
these
to
guys
talk
are
about
like
Red Bull's
sending people
marketing,
to
this
like,
is yeah,
yeah, sending people from space. I remember that guy that jumped
yeah,
from space to Earth. Like,
yeah.
what kind of marketing campaign
Yeah,
are they
but
even
it's
on?
gotten to the point now. Like when I work at the car check, do you know the amount of people that just get Red Bull stickers on their cart? They're not even being paid by Red Bull. What the fuck are you doing? You know, what the heck? You know, and you
Free
buy
marketing.
they buy these stickers from Red Bull for like a decent amount of money. You know, and then they go around and they show everyone, oh, look at me, I've got Red Bull on my cart. I must be the next Max Verstappen. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know. I guess that is a way.
No.
That's the way they want it to be. They want them. They want people to associate Red Bull with winning Formula One Grand Prix, if you will. You know, and apparently
Mm.
Williams wants their name to be associated with breaking down every 5 minutes. Apparently, I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's the
Actually, to
reason
be
why.
honest,
Yeah.
sorry, I was say to be honest, I'm not getting all the references because I
Yeah.
know Tunja is in the past. He's been in the
Yeah.
I know Tunja in the past. He's been in the go karting space and the F1. But
Not the go
myself, this
kart,
is
but
yeah. I don't know, but like this myself. This is the first time ever like ever dive into this. This is like my first ever. So I don't
Yeah.
even know all like the controversy drama. But I was able to piece it together a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's so much. There is so much.
yeah, I'm surprised
It's
that it's a giant money pit though, because I was thinking honestly, it seems like even like when I was going into this, I
well,
was thinking even the karting guys are probably making they're making something, right? Because
yeah.
people have to come there to watch the race. So where's that money going? It's just like
Well, yeah, but it also costs a lot of money. Like, I guess a lot of the money that you're, it's not like a money pit because obviously money doesn't perish. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying more like it doesn't go back. There's so little return on investment in karting because a lot of it goes to like whatever material is made out of your tires or the places where you buy your food or you know the gas station because that's where you get your gasoline because it's so resource intensive, you know what I mean? So it's mostly it goes to the resources, and it's the same with
Uh,
Formula One. The people who really earn a lot of money are the FIA, I guess the Formula One organization, the tracks that they go at, okay, but you know it costs a lot of money to maintain a track. Um, and DHL because they go flying around and they fly around Formula One's filming equipment and all of the drivers and their teams. That's all done via DHL, and then that costs a lot of money as well to do for a season. So it's another thing.
mm,
So it's not like a money pit, but you know
wow.
the return on investment for a lot of these companies that are investing their money in motorsports are it's very low. It's really a hobby, you know. It's a hobby for a lot of people, and especially in the Netherlands, if you're talking about motorsports, it's no, it's not as there's not a much of yeah. There's a lot of money going into it, but in terms of profit,
Not a lot of money coming
it's all
out.
going to one man.
Yeah.
It's all going to one company. So yeah.
Hmm. That's just and Why do you think it's so like popular in Netherlands? If you know, if they are they aware that that's what's happening?
I mean,
Do you think?
probably because of Max Verstappen. That's why it's so popular. Kids see him on TV and they're like, "Hey, that's me. Oh, that's me. Look at me. That's me."
I'm Dutch as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm Dutch. I'm Dutch. I like cheese, and so does he. So that's me. That's me driving over there.
I'm Max Verstappen.
Look at me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. From what I remember, he's not that old, right?
No, he was the youngest
So
race
so
winner
go
ever.
karting. If that's true, then go or like I keep calling it go karting. Should I just call it karting? I'm not sure if I'm
Karting.
like
Just call it
offending
karting.
any
Karting is
karting
good.
fans on the podcast. So that means like karting hasn't been around for that long. Then it just must have just like
Oh, it
gone
has.
crazy recently. Oh, it has. Okay.
Yeah, it's been around since the 1970s, 60s.
Mm.
At least in the Netherlands, it started in the 80s. Yeah, and it grew from there.
And this is kind of like specific question, but I'm just curious. Did the type of fuel change as it evolved?
Sorry?
Like, are you seeing electric cars right now? Did the fuel change as like time went by? Like I don't know if they went like switched to
No.
different.
No.
Just stay
You know what has gotten more expensive
old
though?
school. Mm.
If you go karting, because of the difference in peak performance in used tires and new tires, the organization has decided that they want you to drive on their tires. So you go there, you hand them your their money to be able to race in the organization, to be able to race with them, and then you also have to hand them money for a set of tires so that they know you're running the same tires for all those sessions. Are you following me? Now, as these organizations are growing, these tires are getting more expensive, even though they're going like 10, $20 above retail for some reason. And it's not for some reason, it's because supply and demand. They can ask 300 euros. If you want to participate in their race, you have to pay for their tires.
Mm.
It's business. It's good business.
Smart.
Yeah, man, the organizer drives a very nice BMW from it, so that's all I've got to say. Yeah. Hey, but I mean, count it out with me here. They're 20 euros above retail or above wholesale for these things. So they buy them in through the box. They're paying 200 euros per set and they're selling them for like 235, 240. That's 40 euros profit per person. Last race we had, there were 150 entrants. It's 40 euros, and that's only on tires. You're not even talking about the fact that they're organizing a race, and they ask like a lot of money for that as well. And I mean, in terms of what they're paying, these tracks love it because people come to train. Like today, I went training for a competition I have next, and I had to pay the track to be able to drive. So a lot of these tracks, they're able to, do it for little. Because, well, people come training to their tracks, so they want that, They want...
Do you not get like a special pass or something? Like
Yeah,
I'm
but it still costs money to drive. It always does.
no discounts.
Hey, no comment.
And like what does like training entail? Because karting is a sport, right? So, I mean, what are you training?
Okay, well, I mean, like for example, what I did today was I just tried different things on the setup. I took away front grip and I put it back on. I tuned my engine to some different setups, and I just got familiar with the track and the conditions and the layout and everything and the corners. And that's training.
And are you going to the gym and getting any games?
Obviously, man. You've got to know, really, it's a very intense sport. It's very intense. It's very, what's that called? Like upper leg intense. Quad. Oh my gosh, man. They are burning right now. It's quads, shoulders, and core strength is really what you need to be able to drive.
Full body workout.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Damn. And do you have to even like change the food you're eating and like
I don't know.
does it go that
I don't.
deep
I
or
choose
no?
not to take it that far. I just go to the gym
Mm,
2 to 3 times a week, and I call it a day.
mm,
I have a couple
mm,
muscle groups that I like to exercise because it makes me a bit more confident in the cart. And then on a day like today, I realize that it really makes a difference whether you go to the gym or not. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
it's not so. It's not even endurance. It's just when it's really grippy, and you're steering in. There's no power steering. There's no fancy like technology or anything like that. A cart weighs a minimum of 165 kilos, and when you're going into a corner and you're steering 165 kilos into a corner because you're putting like your full weight is on that steering wheel when you're going into a corner. So yeah,
So it's like more reliant on grip strength.
no, then you're
No?
doing it wrong. You've really got to sit back in the cart and really push your palms into the steering wheel.
Ah,
It's
okay.
not
Okay.
that reliant, but yeah, a bit of grip
So
strength is also important.
your bench press must be high, no? Because it's like push.
I know. It's embarrassing at the moment, man. Let's just say my karting is better than my bench press. No, it's shit.
You'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And so I mean, you've been doing it for such a while. Have you set any records or any like? Do you guys have like state records or like town
Yeah,
records?
in every time I go rental karting, there's a month record under my name usually, yeah. But that's just because you're driving between like dads and drunk people, so
Yeah.
it's fine. But no, I don't. My proudest achievements would be in my hobby competition. It's not even that much of a hobby competition because a lot of people who drive Dutch championships just come there to practice, racing. So in my hobby competition, I once drove P6, which was really good. Then I had a qualifying where I drove 55 or 45.2, and the fastest one was 44.8 or something. So I was really close to someone who's driving in the Dutch championships. And I gotta say, the people who are winning these like races in the kart for fun, or the competition I work for, they are they are okay in the Dutch championship. So that's really an achievement to be that close to them. And in my last race, it was in the rain. I started P25 because it went wrong during the quali, right? I had the wrong tires. It was wet, and I had brand new wets, but it was like kind of dry/wet. So I fucked up those tires, and then I fucked up my quality. So I started at like P25, I think it was, or no, P27, and then I drove up to 7th.
By P27, P6, what does that mean actually?
It's position, track position. Sorry.
Oh, position. I was like, what's going
So
on?
I overtook 20
okay.
carts. Yeah, on my
Wow,
last race.
alright, cool.
So that's really good.
Damn.
And then in the dry, once I drove position 6th of like 25, 28 people. So that's good,
Damn. What's your favorite?
Sorry?
What's your yeah, I was gonna ask like because you were mentioning like dry and rain.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking like what's your favorite weather to drive in or to kart in?
Honestly, man, I love after last weekend that I had where I went from position 27 to position 7 in a rain race. I'm like, man, I love the rain. Every time it rains, I want to be in the cart. But dude, I have to clean the cart myself. It's such a headache to do all of that. And then today I was driving in the dry, and even though it's tiring and you're getting like murdered in the cart, even all of that, I still love the dry because you're going so freaking fast. It's like a roller coaster that you have a control over. It's really, yeah, it's crazy to
I
feel.
mean, these are just like fast, very fast moving like chunks of metal. Like, what's the gnarliest like injury you've seen?
Oh, that's a good question. My second race I ever had, my throttle cable snapped right on the middle of the straight. So I was going like 20 kilometers per hour, and some guy behind me didn't see this, and he flew right over me. I got a cart in the back of my helmet. My old suit,
Jeez.
It still has like tire marks on it. A guy drove over me. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
That was a close call.
Yeah. No,
anything
it hurt.
anything you've seen happen to other people?
Yeah, I've
Or
seen
has it
carts,
been good?
dude.
Oh.
Oh, don't even get me started, man. At the Dutch Championship, you see carts flipping. My
Mm-hmm.
driver on this last race in the rain, the thing is, it's like a welded chunk of metal, right? The weld, it cracked. It became two mini carts. The thing split in two. It's
Holy
crazy.
shit.
Yeah, man. You see some.
Every time one of those break, it's like 5,000 euros down the drain.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's not down the drain. You can still drive it, but no, it's more like
It's just in two.
yeah, for a pair of tubes. Because the thing is, it's cart is nothing more than a pair of tubes and some chunks of metal attached to it. Very basic what I'm saying now, but for a pair of tubes, it's so the basis of your chassis, it's like 2,500 euros. So yeah, it's okay.
Not bad for almost dying.
Yeah, I mean, well, most expensive near-death experience I've ever had, but whatever.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this: is there anyone like dead or alive that you would have liked to met, or you want to meet?
Oh man, I wanna know what Jos Verstappen did to those engines, man. I don't. Oh my god, I've been reading like the rule book over and over every night of my engine class, and that guy he's taught. Because the team that Max Verstappen used to drive for, it still drives in the Netherlands. It's called Stampex Racing. It has the same name as me. It's pretty cool. It's called Stampex Racing, right? And the lead Stampex, he builds the engines, and I don't know what he does to those things. But as I'm standing by the side and I'm watching these things go by, they're crazy fast. They're so much quicker than the rest of the field, and it's crazy because. You have to seal the engines to be able to drive. So there's a bunch of regulations that you have to conform to when you're building an engine. And I don't know what he does to these things. Like when he's rebuilding them, does he mess around with the gaskets? Does he like make some parts too big and others too small to mess around with the fact that everything expands under heat? What is he playing with? What is he playing at? That's what I really want to know. That's. Honestly, if I find that out someday, if I can build my own engines, it'd be fantastic.
Is it like a Krabby Patty situation where it's like a complete secret, or is it somewhere out?
Yeah, but I know one Krabby Patty secret formula, and I have it on both of my engines, and I've done it to my driver as well, which is really a really big difference. So yeah.
And what is that?
Well, I won't.
Oh, it is a Krabby Patty. I don't know.
Hey man, it is Krabby Patty.
On a podcast.
I won't go into too much detail. What I will say though is, whatever this guy is doing to his engine, it has to be an ignition. Ignition is where this Rotax Max Senior engine is being held back, because it's got plenty of air, it's got plenty of fuel. The air box. It's literally, this is the size of the air intake, and. Like, wait, I've got a piston over here. This is the size of the piston. So it's getting more than enough air. It's getting more than the diameter of the piston in intake. So it's massive. And the carburetor is a fat chunk of metal as well, which is doing plenty of fuel into the ignition, which means that it must be getting held back in something. And I think it's the ignition. So it's when the spark is igniting, And I think or I know that that's where it's being held back the most. So whatever this guy's doing, it has to be some electronics, some wizardry. Maybe he's soldered an extra wire somewhere, or like, I don't know, something. But yeah.
How much does electrical engineering overlap with actual engineering, I guess, or the mechanic? Is it completely the same?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know. The stuff that I know because of karting, it would get me a good grade in physics and chemistry in school, like a really good grade. Mm-hmm. Like I knew before the rest of the...
Like the thermal expansion, like that's definitely, we learned that lesson.
Bro, you've got thermal expansion, you've got corrosion, you've got the rate of thermal expansion you need to know for some of this stuff. You know that like if something corrodes, it's less conductive. Why? Well, because the metal becomes soft because of, the links they lose it. Yeah, yeah, it's stuff like that you learn. And yeah, there's so much science in a car. And then I haven't even started talking about like the fact that you learn about gasoline and grease and degrease and different chemical compositions and whatever whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I can keep on going for so long.
Mm. Well, I mean, I don't know if we have enough time, so I want to give you one last question.
Yes.
Uh, what is it? What does it look like for you and your future right now? Yeah.
So right now I'm still doing IB. Or sorry, I'm still doing IB MYP. I'm in my last year now. I'm MP5. I'm going to be doing I've done my exams for my IB package, and those are completed. I got everything perfect except for math, so I'll be in standard level math, which is a pain in the ass. And then,
I think high-low math is a pain in the ass.
yeah, but I wanted to get into higher level, but they just didn't allow me to. It's so sad. But yeah, so now what's gonna happen is I'm going to go to standard level math and some other subjects. Higher level physics, though, I did get into that. Then after that, I'm going to get into Dutch university, or a lower level Dutch university for people who don't have higher level math. And that's going to be in mechanical engineering. And after that, I want to get a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Then probably work in one of the regional giants. I'm not thinking about working for ASML, but I'd have to see what their geopolitical state is at that time. Obviously, right now they're playing a very important role in the whole Taiwan thing between China, because they've got massive. They're pretty much exporting all of their machinery, what they make, to Taiwan, and China is like, you either trade with Taiwan or you trade with China. And then America said, you either trade with China or you trade with us and Taiwan. So they're under a lot of pressure. So I don't think I'd work for them. I'd work more for one of the more regional engineering companies, and then probably start a consultancy after the 5-6 years of experience in the business, because consultancy makes so much money.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the plan.
Consulting. How does that work? Consulting in mechanical engineering.
I haven't done too much research yet, but the gist of it, it's like any other consultancy. You just go around, you make sure people are doing their job. Yeah.
I mean, bro, if I can recommend anyone, it's gotta be Alex Hermosi. I don't know if he talks that much about consulting, but this guy, if you want to do like stuff with business and like making money and optimizing, so if you want to optimize your gardening business, there's this one guy, bro, Alex Hermosi. We're like subscribed to his what's it called, cult, bro, at this point. We're watching everything he does basically, and it's like super useful. He gives a lot of value out for free.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole point of it is so that he can get some kickback to like his own company. But his company is for huge business conglomerates. So if you're just a regular guy watching it, then you're basically getting all this value that bigger guys are getting for free. So it's done really wonders for us. But.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like his model, or the idea of his business, is that he gives out so much value to people, so that they can become millionaires, and then eventually he can invest back into them, into those people. So it's like kind of really it's called I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into marketing, but it's called a funnel, where it's like, okay, I'll explain it real quick. A funnel is basically, because it's like, well, you know what a funnel is? It's like this, right?
Yeah.
And at the bottom you have the sale. It's like the actual transaction, and at the top you have a cold customer, someone who doesn't even know about your business. And then eventually goes down the funnel. He starts to know a little bit about your business. He starts to pick up some interest. He starts checking out the products. And then eventually the transaction happens at the end, which is the end of the funnel, where you make money, right? So it's essentially a very, very big funnel where he's giving you a shit ton of value, and he's kind of bring you. Well, a cult is kind of like a negative connotation, but
Yeah.
more like
I know
a
what you
community of people that are using that information to become very rich, and then he has like a private equity company that invests back into those people, and he makes money off of that, but like literally 5-10 years from now. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit of marketing.
I gotta check him out.
But yeah, we'll share him with you after.
All right.
Speaking of sharing, anything you want to plug to the audience?
I don't know. Just focus on school.
Or like a message?
I don't know.
Focus on school.
One important life lesson I will share is the fact that I spend a lot of time working these minimum wage jobs with people who didn't do their best in school, with adults who didn't do their best in school. Trust me, it's not a path you want to follow, man. Do something, find something you're good at, and get a job in it, and make sure you got some good working conditions. And for God's sakes, just do your best at our age, because God knows that if you don't, it can turn out ugly. You know what I mean? Doesn't even have to be at school. 100%. You know, you guys, you've got your marketing scheme going on. You've got everything.
Scheme.
Scheme. Sorry. I don't know. It has a negative connotation, but I think you know what I mean. You know, you've got this going on. You're being productive, but be productive at this age. Learn to be productive, and yeah, that's all I have, to be honest.
100%.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, thank you, man. You can invoice us 10 euros. I know for your gardening. You could have been gardening in this time.
Yeah, it's an hour and 15 minutes. So I'll make it one. Let's see.
Let's see if we can do it.
11. No, it's not 11 euros. It's
like
12.50. 12.50, man.
It's like recurring.
Yeah, it's 12.50.
12.50. All right.
All right. No, I'm kidding.
Send that over.
Hey, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much for Constantine for being on the podcast. Really hope you gather some insights and learn. I mean, myself, I learned a lot about the karting world. So thank you, Constantine, for that. We'll see you next time.
See you.